the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome, race fans, back to Primetime Racing TV, where it's a Monday night, and that means Red Light Scrambler Series. Tonight, they take the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup machines out to the Bluegrass State on the 1.5-mile D-shaped Kentucky Speedway. We kind of turn back the time machine a little bit from the newly configured Kentucky Speedway with the different side of banking on each end of the track to the original extremely bumpy, extremely difficult surface from the 2001 era when this track was first paved. So these guys will have to take this new Monster Energy Cup package to the bumps and to the difficult surface of Kentucky for tonight's action. Give me the calls. Myself, Corey Silva. I'll be in the booth and in the camera truck along with Marshall Crocker in the booth with me. Shout out to Fame Motorsports and Track Cams for Gore. Cover these guys last week at Talladega, which obviously is kind of a maze. So on the service tonight, kind of more the bread and the butter of the service of the season, rather, as we head to a 1.5 miler. So should be a night where we'll see who the guys that we're going to be watching throughout the season are going to be.
Definitely, Corey. And I think tonight is going to be our first example of seeing what drivers can adapt to this, not only this new package, but this new, car series entirely. Like, we haven't had a NASCAR race yet. We only had the truck race at Talladega. So probably the most, as you said, bread and butter NASCAR track style in the entire series. So it'll be a good showcase of who's going to have talent going forward and who may have to fight from the bottom of the point stand.
As you can see right now, qualifying just underway, well, on the latter end of it right now. Still a couple drivers on track, and James Heater is on top of the board by about 3/100ths of a second over Richard Murdoch, Max Terrio, who won last week's race, Ethan Troutman, and Pat Orr in the number 81 machine on the top of the pylon right now. But again, Marshall, with how these cars are going to race, I mean, I'm not entirely sure how it's going to race. We're going to have the massive suck up, the massive draft with these the aero package on these machines, but we also know how big the aero push is in these machines as well. And Kentucky is you can run a couple grooves, but it's not going to be bottom to the top all over the racetrack. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it actually is going to play out in a pack.
Yeah, this will definitely be a learning experience for me because I haven't seen this new aero package applied to a 1.5-mile track like Kentucky yet. So as you talked about, we'll have to see if those lines are going to run the traditional way you'd expect at a track of Kentucky's type, or whether we'll see a completely new strategy tonight like we did even last week in the Truck Series.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something interesting to watch. And last week, obviously only one race into this season, Max Terrio with the win leads the points by 3 over Minto, and we have Johnson, Troutman, and Camara, the top 5 in points after, again, one race last week at Daytona. Here at Kentucky, we got a Michigan, Watkins Glen, and Darlington next on the schedule, so a very dynamic schedule. Remember how we do have the varying cars, track combos every week. We're going to be in the Cup cars one week, trucks next, Xfinity the following week, so that is indeed the scramble behind the name in the series. But these guys are getting ready onto the starting lineup, so let's give it to you, the PTR TV starting lineup here from the Kentucky Speedway. On the pole tonight with a lap time of 29.643, James Heater in the number 18 machine. On the outside, Richard Murdoch. Then we have Max Terrio in third, Ethan Troutman in fourth, Patrick Orr in fifth, Tim Blum in sixth, and seventh and eighth we have Jeff Dooley and Sean Butler.
Starting in the ninth position, we have James Skelton. In 10th, last race's runner-up, Brandon Minto. In 11th, a new rookie to the series, Joe Strano. Joshua Buckley in the 12th position. Jay Anderson in the 13th position. In 14th, Ryan Oldani. In 15th, Eric Johnson. And in 16th, Tony Strano.
17th spot, Christopher Rothrick, and then Bruce Potter in the 18th spot. 19th, Kyle Souza, and Leo Bourdage in the 20th position. 21st, you will find Jesse Baker, Brian Phillips in the 22nd position. Then rounding out your field in 23rd, Kevin O'Brien, the Aussie, in the field here tonight. So again, it's going to be a 90-lap race here at the Kentucky Speedway. The race format and the analysis that we do have, remember, it's a fixed setup series, and kind of the part of it that is going to be the most interesting is the fuel load limit of 50%. So loose estimation, again, with the package, it's still kind of learning the fuel mileage in all these places. I'd say about 30 laps. I'm going to take a gander at the fuel to be. Tires at Kentucky, about 40 laps with this new package. We're not really wearing about the way that we used to, and our fame of Motorsports keys to the race. You got to survive the bumps here at Kentucky. They throw the car all around. You got to keep yourself in the correct line. Watch out for that aero push, and then watch your line. The inside lane here at Kentucky a little bit less banked, so combined with the bumps, that is going to be a difficult thing to navigate.
Yeah, I would definitely expect that kind of conflict and contact element of this track to be a huge issue, because it's pretty thin compared to some other 1.5 miles, namely something like Auto Club. So it'll be an interesting setup, and I'm looking to see how this new package plays into that aspect.
It is going to be, and it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes for these guys to settle in, as I expect some pack racing for at least a couple laps until everyone kind of gets into their own little bubble, and we'll see how that does play out. But we have James Heater in the number 18 Camry leading the field down, and the number 01 machine to his outside. That is Richard Murdoch. The pace car is going to take the hard left into pit lane. Red Light Scrambler Series round number 2 on PTR TV live at Kentucky. We wait, waiting for the flag. We're going to put the green flag in the air, and there it is. Here we are, green flag racing.
And a great start on that outside line by Richard Murdoch in the 01. Heater wasn't able to get much of a jump into that first corner at all.
And that the 42 of Max Terrio, he's going to fall in behind that number 18 already, and he's actually going to look to the outside lane, and that may be a move we're going to be watching throughout this race, is getting to the outside and causing that guy on the inside to lose his momentum and perhaps lose the positions. That is a battle for the lead side by side. You can see some 2 and 3 wide racing as everyone fans out on this speedway.
Yeah, and Terrio last week in the Truck Series, he was a big fan of that outside lane, and it looks like he's already making it work because he's got about half a car length on that 18 of James Heater.
You can see Heater just could not hold that car down there, lost the spot. Terrio with the lead, and Patrick Orr in the number 81 machine sails it around the outside. Here comes Richard Murdoch trying to see what he can do up top.
Starting to even out a little bit into a single line race here, except obviously with the packs in the back. I think we have a 3 wide going there for, I believe that's 9th or 10th position.
Yeah, they are. They are fanned out amongst the wide front straightaway here at Kentucky. They got to be careful heading into one. Again, with the bumps, with the slightly different banking there on the inside of the track, does make it hard to run there right on the yellow line, rather. It's kind of more advantageous to run on that second groove from the bottom. I think that is where you'll see most of these guys running primarily, and that is kind of justified from what we saw there through that corner. But everyone, as we are completing lap number 3, pretty much up front, starting to single file out. Still some double file coming on into play later in the field, but I think these guys just trying to get into a rhythm. Again, we have a 90-lap race, still plenty of time to get yourself where you need to be.
We had talked about that new aerodynamic package a second ago, but Terrio seems to be running at the front without too much confrontation between him and Patrick Orr and the 81 right behind him. So I don't know if it's his line or if Orr's just waiting, but it's pretty simple and like a solo line this early in the race.
Yeah, so the problem that Orr is having, you can see entering the corner here, he does not want to get right behind the 42. That is the aero push at its finest. He wants to get out of line a little bit, get some air on the nose of that M&M's Camry, and the problem is if he goes too low on the track, again, that's where the banking difference is. He's going to have a harder time holding it down there. If he goes too high, well, he's going to scrub speed off. The rubber's not up there, and well, it's the longer way around the speedway. So this is the problem these guys are going to have, is to use the draft, you're going to have to put yourself right in that aero push line, but at the same time, that's really the fastest way around.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough balancing act for these drivers to deal with, especially as you talked about in that passing aspect on the aero push, while at the same time, in this early in the race, trying to be conservative and not risk, spinning yourself just off of too heavy of an aero push coming into the braking zone.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of brakes here, maybe just lifting off just a little bit. And I haven't personally taken laps to Kentucky yet under the new package, so I'm not as knowledgeable as I would be at kind of the more bank tracks as a auto club, or not an auto club, at Atlanta, Charlotte, or Texas, for example. But again, you can see the draft on the max straightaway that the 18 got to the back bumper of the 81. That's Heater in the 18. Remember, he led the race from the drop of the green flag, but wasn't actually able to lead a lap in that process. So the pole sitter still has a goose egg in the laps led category, and he's just trying to see what he can do. Caution flag on the speedway. Ryan Aldani off of corner number 4 into the tri-oval wall in the number 98 machine. See what happened on PTR TV replay. He's racing the number 11 machine, entering 3 and 4. And just some contact there. Both drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate.
Yeah, it didn't look like Leo Bordage, who was running with him, moved up all that much. He kind of stood static on that, dotted white line there. So I'm not sure if he just came down on him or what. But yeah, you're right. They're just trying to fight for the same piece of track. And
this is just to preface it, because it is something that we have seen ever since a couple builds ago on the iRacing service. The number you'll see for Leo Bordage is the number 7 in the ticker. That is what he's registered as in the sim, but unfortunately his paint scheme's showing up as an 11, so that we will screw up for the course of the race. Believe me, we will screw it up, but just kind of note what we are trying to get across there. But we will see what happens with pit stops here. We completed 8 laps. We're on lap number 9, and is track position worth the tire wear? We'll see. So far, everyone's heading to pit road. Is that going to be how it's going to stay? Seems as such.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me, especially at a track where, I mean, tire strategy, obviously very impactful, but I think this early in the run, I guess if everybody goes in, it doesn't matter, but track position is very important here, as we've seen at the front, because it's very difficult to pass with this new aero package.
Yeah, when it comes to passing, it basically seems as if you have about 2 laps to make your move on pit road, rather on the racetrack. You have 2 laps of the tires are better than the aero push, but then after that, that's where the push comes into play, and you're gonna really have to strategize and just try your hardest to get the better run. And we'll see what the race off of pit road is, and looks like it is going to be Max. Actually, it's gonna be Eric Johnson, but Eric Johnson didn't actually make a pit stop. He drove straight through the lane. So Max Theriault is the first driver to actually complete service on his pit stop and re-enter the racetrack.
Yeah, it looked like we're going to come out of the pits in kind of the same spot we did coming to the green. It'll still be Theriault, and then I believe that is Orr moved back a spot. So it looks like Heater passed Orr on pit road there.
And we saw that Heater, he did not get, as I talked about, didn't get the start he wanted, as Johnson will head to pit road, presumably just wanted to get the lap led. He will get that and have to sacrifice positions all the way back to probably about the 22nd, if not the 23rd position. Ryan Aldani, not very much damage to that machine, so I think he may be all right, just maybe a little bit slower than he would like on the straight line, but manages to be okay. And another driver with damage that I do see, that Coke Vanilla machine, that 943 of Joe Strano, significant damage to the front end of that machine. Didn't quite catch what happened to him though.
Now I could try to go back and find a spot for you, but yeah, I never saw that as part of the incident previous. So when he exited pit road, his car was perfectly fine. I'm wondering if he maybe caught the wall accelerating back up to speed on pit exit.
It looks like it's...
no, he made contact with the car in front of him.
Yeah, it looks like it's dead on the nose, so it seems like he must have rear-ended somebody. Obviously, somebody else in the field is going to have a rear bumper to match that impact, but the light's out on the pace car, and we are down the back straightaway, doubled up, stacked up, ready to go green flag racing, coming through 3 and 4. We're going to have the first restart of the night, taking lap number 12.
It looks like that was DJ Anderson he made contact with on that incident there, but you're right. Theriault and Heater are going to take us to the green. Let's see if Heater can run a little bit better of a start than he did on the first green flag, but Theriault coming to the line here. Let's see if, like I said, he can get a good start from that outside lane. Definitely a track that's very solid to do so. About to get in that throttle, and he's on the gas.
In the lead. Lane choice went to the 42 on that outside lane, and that 18 of Heater actually was quite ready, and no, immediate yellow flag. DJ Anderson, just talked about him having issues with the back bumper of Joe Strano, but see what happened to him on the restart.
Yeah, looking at the replay, he's got big damage from that incident, so I almost wonder if that had some effects on the crash there.
Yeah, there was someone with a huge checkup. Someone did not get going at all. Let's see, the 20, the 908 kind of moved around just a little bit. There was a little, the 20, the 908, 908 kind of went in the middle, I think, trying to avoid the 20, and when he did that, just the 51 of Anderson was there, and puts us under an immediate yellow flag situation. Didn't even get out of first gear there, but that was the 20 of Brandon Minto. That's where the 908 of Dooley was trying to avoid, but again, just kind of moved up to where another car was, and there we go.
If I had to guess, I think Heater at the very front of that inside line checked up when he was trying to run next to Theriault, because obviously Theriault was the leader coming to the flag, so when he got a bit more of a jump than he would have liked, he had to hold up so Theriault could cross the line first, and when he checked up, everybody behind him checked up, and I think it was Tim Blum that braked the hardest right in front of Brandon Minto, so when he stopped, I'm not sure who crashed into Anderson there, but just wanted to do a chain reaction.
Now, the way that it does work here on iRacing is if you are the second place machine, you can beat the leader back to the line, but you cannot be ahead of the leader when the official green flag does drop. So I think that is kind of what you were alluding to, where he needed to make sure, Heater needed to make sure he was not ahead of Terrio at that official green flag to avoid him getting a penalty, because obviously a penalty here on a restart, that's going to be a drive through pit road under green flag conditions, and well, that'd put you down nearly 2 laps.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch to see how far ahead he was. Yeah, it looked like when they came to the acceleration line, he was already ahead of him, so he had to check up a little bit, and you could just see it happening. Every single driver having to check up real hard to avoid hitting the back of each other.
Oh, but it does put us under another caution, and as we already pitted, I mean, immediately, and my the adage I always like to say in this kind of situations, we didn't even wear the stickers off the tires yet, so really no need to come to pit road unless you have damage from some incident. But we'll see if it ends up being a quickie caution and we get ourselves back to the green flag. We see the flagman actually in the flag stand with the flag, which is nice add on to the sim, and the lights will go out on the pace car, so we will get stacked up and re-racked up for another shot at the restart.
Yeah, I think James Heater will take us to the green this time, thanks to his great start there on that last restart, so much so that he had to check up. But yeah, let's see if he kind of redeemed himself in that last green flag from the beginning of the race where he gave Terrio a huge run, so let's see what he can do this time by.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out, Marshall, who actually is scored as the leader. Did Heater actually get the lead there for the yellow flag?
Yeah, he's showing up as the leader on, as far as I can tell. I'm not sure exactly when they waved the yellow. It was pretty soon after the green, but he was ahead for a large majority of that first lap.
So the curious thing to see is we won't be able to tell until after the fact. I mean, if he was actually given a penalty or something, because if he was given a penalty by race control, it would be applicable to a green flag pit stop. So he might have lucked out with the timing there to get the lead. He may have a penalty. We'll have to find out together as the restart does take place, which is going to be in a matter of moments as the pace car takes the left turn into pit road, navigate through turn 4 into the restart zone, which at Kentucky is a little bit further up into the tri-oval. Waiting, and flagman will change to the green flag, and there we go, back green flag racing.
Gonna hope Heater was the leader in that last restart, because he got a huge nose ahead of 42 of Max Terrio there, but the 01 of Richard Murdoch also got a great jump. He's right on that back bumper of the 18 car. And
with a look to the inside is that number 01 machine of Richard Murdoch down the back straightaway with the push from Sean Butler in the 88 machine. We head into corner number 3, 01. He's going to sail it off in there. Is he going to be able to clear? The 18 is going to try to hold some momentum off corner number 4. Looks like Murdoch is going to give him the lane to the outside. Who's going to get it at the stripe? Give it to Murdoch to lead lap 16.
The one thing we just saw from Murdoch I haven't talked about much is that bottom apron on the track. Oh, Terrio gets checked up hard by, I think that's Sean Butler in the 88. Might have a little bit of front damage there.
Yeah, we'll see how it does phase everybody coming down the back straightaway. Murdoch, he took the lead on the inside, but now he's stuck on the inside lane, and he has to fall back in line in the 3rd spot, and looks like Terrio will drop in line behind him. James Skelton running at your top 5 as we complete lap number 17, and here comes Terrio trying to look to the outside of Murdoch. Is he going to be able to hold that position in corner number 1? He is going to try. Murdoch's going to go down to the yellow line, but Murdoch should be able to shut the door on him. Off of 2, he will do as such.
Now Terrio's got company from that 86 car, James Skelton, who was very quick at the beginning of this race. He's moved up 4 positions in those last 2 green flag starts.
Yes, he has, and we'll go back through the field as they still are sifting through the action here. We have Kevin O'Brien again in the 184 machine. Kevin O'Brien, he's the Aussie in the field here tonight. So kind of cool to see all across the world drivers participating here in the league and on the iRacing service. That number 184 machine up on the top of the racetrack. You see at the bottom, that's Christopher Rothrick in the 84, losing a bunch of spots to the inside lane. Seems to not be the place to have your car here tonight, as these guys are sifting themselves up for position. Eric Johnson in the 33 to the inside of the track, again under the 184.
Yeah, that inside line, as you talked about that 2-lap window where tires are great, I think we're just outside of it, but you can probably afford to make some passes on the inside here. But once we start getting a few laps on those tires, as you said before, taking the stickers off, we're going to have to see that outside line come back.
We do have a battle up front for the lead. That's Butler in the 18 to the inside. That's Sean That is Sean Butler in the 88 and the 18 of James Heater, if I can get my names right. And that 88 is going to chop the nose off the 18, force him down to the apron there. Murdoch's going to use that opportunity to go to the outside of the track and try to get Heater stuck down to the inside.
Depending on what line Butler picks here, it looks like Murdoch could have a good run. Heater had to check up real hard on the inside there.
And now Skelton in the 86 machine in the Slim Jim ride. He's going to go to the top of the track, force Heater back another position. Now Max Terrio in the 42. He's not going to be able to set it on up there. He's going to fall back in line. So Heater goes for the lead and ends up losing 2 positions in the endeavor. Sends himself back to the 4th spot.
Yeah, Heater has just been having a rough time there trying to get that line to work. I think once Butler kind of got to his outside and started pressuring him down there, he's just kind of got into his rhythm, which is a thing we're going to see all day with this new aero package.
Now, if you're watching this live, I mean, if you were watching this live, you just saw the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup race at Michigan kind of delayed with a late start time. It just concluded, and it kind of raced the same way as what we see here, where you kind of wanted to run that second lane up, and if you made a pass to the inside, you got too bogged down there with the way the aerodynamics work, the lack of horsepower. So you really just couldn't make those passes to the inside without a ton of help or a mega run. Kind of seems to be partnering with reality what we have tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to play a big part in tonight's race.
We have Brandon Minto in the 20 up the track. That's Tim Blum in the 10, the Tide Ride, looking to the inside, entering corner number 1, and Minto is going to go high and wide and give him the spot, but is actually going to get a ton of momentum off corner number 2. What's he going to choose to do with it? He is going to just stay in line and relinquish back to the 9th position.
Yeah, but just to come back to that aero package, this might be the first time these guys have seen it, because we're running this race very soon after the new update, and this is the first time in this series we've run the new cars, so it played a big part at Michigan. We just finished a race there, and I think we're seeing a lot of the same aspects of that race right here in terms of the track style, the very low banking, so I feel like everything is making sense with the new package as to how it's designed.
Yeah, I mean, when it first came out, I think a lot of people, myself included, we kind of just jumped on the bandwagon of, oh my god, this is just crazy Daytona everywhere, and it seemed that at first, but the more that we do get to experience it and see it in the real world versus what we have, I mean, it is very similar. It's very momentum based. You get the slipstream, you get the draft in the very beginning. It's pack oriented, but then the aero push comes into play, the tires come into play, the handling comes into play, and it turns into, kind of a traditional race, and, sometimes you can make that draft work to your advantage. Sometimes it, works to your disadvantage, but it kind of is a little bit of a mix of each bag, and it's what we have right now. And Butler in that number 88 has himself in the best position, leading this by about 0.2 of a second over Murdoch in that 0-1 machine. We have been on the track for 17 laps since our last time to pit road. So again, remember the 50% fuel load in these machines. I estimated about 30 laps. That was a complete shot in the dark, but we will see if indeed that is close and when these guys do come to pit road.
Yes, sorry Corey, I was just trying to time out some lap times here on fuel strategy. I'm a little curious as to how these guys are going to keep running as we come towards the end of the race, but because we talked about that 30 lap fuel window, and if you're able to time your laps out properly based on how quick we're still running, you could try to go for one less stop than the leaders, which is a point we haven't really seen yet, at least not in races I've done. But that fuel strategy with this new package and how easy it is to catch up could play a big role.
I mean, you could save, if you're in the draft right now, like you have a Max Terrio, for example, he's 4th in line, 5th in line even right now, and you really can save a ton of fuel in that position. You're not on throttle. You don't need to be on throttle that much percentage-wise just because you have so much draft to tie you right back into the mix. But again, let's see right now. We'll try to do some quick mental math. If it is about a 30 lap window, that would be a pit stop in about 10 laps, lap number 40. So I think it's going to be a 2-stop race, however you stretch it. But I think the way it's going to work out, as let's see on the lap time chart right now, we're down to about 31-second lap. So we've dropped off a little over a second. So remember, every lap that you pit, if you pit earlier, you can take advantage of those fresher tires and maybe gain some time, but you pit later, you might lose that time, but you're going to have the freshest tires on the track. So it's kind of always that balance of which method is going to work better.
One thing I just want to talk about, obviously, I believe that's Sean Butler running in the lead right now in the 88 car, but he is running insanely quick on his own line here. He has no help from guys like James Skelton, like Richard Murdoch does. But I just noticed he ran 71 laps in practice today. That's like an hour and 5 minutes, which is insane. So he is clearly prepared for tonight's race, maybe getting used to that new aero package.
Yeah, that is more than, well, not no more, but that is about 80% of what tonight's race actually is. And
he's run the race already.
Yeah, I mean, you see drivers, I mean, myself included, I mean, there was an hour practice session before this race, and you know, a good portion of drivers, I mean, myself included, if I was in the race, I would probably join about 15 minutes beforehand, run a couple laps, and just see what I can do. But when you practice that much, you can practice a full fuel load. You know what the tires are going to do at every stage in the run, and you really know how exactly far you can make it on a fuel load. So it's kudos to him. I mean, you want to win these races, you have to put the time in, and seems to be paying off. He's out of the slipstream range, so well, his internet needs to stay on the track. That's the first step, but he is out of the slipstream range, so Murdoch not really getting any help from him, so Butler is able to do what he wants to do and not have to worry about what's going on behind him.
The other thing that we haven't really talked about today, but he, judging by his lap times, he must have been doing a lot of like pit in and out stops for practice there, just practicing his in and out exit. We just saw a problem there on the last caution, but that's a very interesting thing to be talking about here, because it's a very, very thin pit exit, as we see on the outside, and even coming back into the pits, it's a very quick rundown. So you have to be right on the brakes, and that's a huge spot for mistakes, but it looks like he's prepared for tonight's race.
Yeah, I can see here we're following the number 962 Ethan Troutman off of 4, and Kentucky's about 6 lanes wide, and you have to pull off all the way down to that inside of the track. We'll kind of go on board here as looks like the battle for third, or rather even second, is starting to heat up. Murdoch has some heavy heat from that number 86 of James Skelton, who goes to the inside of the racetrack trying to make a pass for second. And you'll see them through 3 and 4. Skelton down here in that first lane. That is the entry to pit lane right there on the bottom of the track. That's where you have to get down to. And Skelton wasn't able to hold it down there, lost the spot, wasn't able to pass 01, and actually lost the spot to Terrio.
Yeah, I think that group of 3 there, as the longer they hold each other up, the longer they kind of dance around each other on that outside lane, the further and further Sean Butler gets away. And I think it's safe to say that Richard Murdoch in the L1 doesn't have a solid drafting line set up there with Butler anymore. So he might be hung out to dry if Butler gets a good run.
Yeah, that could be the case, but here comes Terrio with a power move to the outside of Murdoch. He's going to pull door to door, and Murdoch's going to have to give him the space on the top of the racetrack, and that's going to be the ideal line for the number 42. So I would expect him to be able to keep that thing wound up and clear him off corner number 2, and we'll see if Skelton in the 86 is going to be able to draft up to the back of the 42 and see if he can fill in the gap up top and try to get by Murdoch as well. That will not come to fruition, as the 86 does not have the momentum yet, but just as I say that, he sucks up in the middle of the corner, and he's going to put himself in that position up top, and now we'll see if James Heater can follow suit was behind him as well.
When Murdoch goes down the block there, he's going to sit on that apron and just prevent him from taking the easy inside line to make that pass.
Yeah, but then Murdoch goes all the way to the inside of the track, and then we have James Heater seeing if he can close in. He's not going to be able to. Murdoch is going to close back in line, and then right behind him, Josh Buckley in the 6th spot, just a little bit further back. And we go back to Tim Blum in the 7th spot. Patrick Orr in the 8th spot, under fire from Eric Johnson in 9th. And Brandon Minto is your top 10 here as we very quickly close in on the halfway point in this race. Lap number 39 out of 40. Well, my fuel window says 30 laps. Again, that was a guess. We are going to be on lap number 30 right now. So again, 50% fuel load. In my experience on 1.5 miles on iRacing, it was always about 60 laps on fuel. So, I mean, What do you know? Lap 30 coming to pit road.
Man, you called that, but Sean Butler, the only one to go in that time. Nobody behind him is going to follow. So if he comes out with nobody to draft with, he might have a problem unless he gets a great run on pit exit.
But remember, he didn't actually have a drafting partner before. He was running by himself to great success ahead of everybody. So he draws first blood, and we'll see if everybody else follows suit, which I would have to imagine they will. Max Terrio gains the lead, and here they come right down pit road. Very seldom do I actually ever guess something right. I'm going out and buying a lottery ticket after this race, but everyone comes down pit lane. James Heater, your pole sitter, he will remain onto the racetrack, and he is very, very slow. Is he out of fuel?
I think he is. He's going to that top line while the guys on the inside by.
Yeah, listen to him. He's down to 4,500 RPMs. Heater is out of fuel. 18 machine took it one lap too far, and he's going to make it back to the pits. Actually, it's going to be very close. He's only going 80 miles an hour down the back straightaway. Just now is inches 3. I mean, he's going to get back to the pits most likely, but actually remember, think of it. He was the pole sitter. He has to coast all the way, the first stall, all the way to the turn 1 side of pit road.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's coming back to bite him tonight, man.
Yeah, so it does seem pretty definitive, like about 32 laps. Nope, and he is going to park it, and he's either going to park it for the race or he's going to take the tow truck and push him back to pit road. Not sure which of those options it is going to be. We'll see what happens to take it out of that, but up front, Bruce Potter and Tony Strano leading it down. They did pit a little bit later. They pitted on that second caution. That gives them a couple extra laps of fuel. Well, in the case of Bruce Potter, I think, is he out of fuel as well? Yeah, Bruce Potter out of fuel in the 59.
And it looks like guys trying to stretch, maybe go for one last stop than the conventional strategy, but that's the second time somebody has gone just by the pit road and run out of fuel.
Yeah, and Potter had only stayed out for 29 laps, so we saw 30 to 31, 32 is what Heater pushed and it didn't work, so Potter, surprising he did not have enough, so it seems you're not going to want to push 32 laps. 31 is the absolute maximum without heavy-duty saving, but up front, it's going to shift back to your number 88 machine of Sean Butler. We're waiting for scoring to update. Actually, there it is. He has just under a 2-second lead over Max Terrio as we are essentially on the halfway point. We'll give you a through the field rundown right now. So first through 10th, Sean Butler. Max Terrio in second, James Skelton in third, Richard Murdoch in fourth, Joshua Buckley in fifth. Ethan Troutman in 6th, Brandon Minto in 7th, Eric Johnson in 8th, Tim Blum in 9th, and DJ Anderson rounding out your top 10. Marshall.
11th, we have Patrick Orr at the moment, Kyle Souza in 12th, Leo Bordage in 13th, Christopher Rothrock in 14th, Brian Oldani in 15th, Joe Strano in 16th, 17th, Jeff Dooley, Brian Phillips in 18th, Kevin O'Brien in 19th, and it looks like Bruce Potter made it to the pits because he is currently in 20th.
All right, and we have Tony Strano and Jesse Baker still on the track, and it looks like after that incident, James Heater took it to the hauler after running out of fuel on that lap, and that is the halfway time around the speedway. A race summary thus far, we've had only 2 cautions for 7 laps, 8 lead changes, mainly throughout that cycle of green flag stops, and well, we've already run 6 laps in the case of Sean Butler, so just, 25 laps more from that. That's going to put us to lap number 70, but they do have the option of coming in, anywhere after lap number 60, and that could give them 10 laps of buffer on fresher tires to maybe gain a little bit of a lead, so it may be something these guys want to take note of. But one thing that I am noticing, I'll pull up the lap graphic one more time. Look at how much faster Terrio was than Sean Butler last time by.
Yeah, Terrio looks like he lost about a second and a half in that pit run there. I don't know if it was entry or his exit, but Butler had him beat. But now every lap he's like 2 or 3 tenths of a second quicker. So I don't know what Butler has changed since his last green flag run, but man, Terrio is quick right now.
3 tenths now. And remember, we are in a fixed setup series, so what it could mean is that 88 is, you know, he might be saving the tires a little bit, just kind of, you know, coasting a little bit more on the entry of the corner, a little bit just later onto the throttle in the center of the corner. And Max Terrio just out of trying to catch back up. I think he is just in, as I like to call it, full send mode, and it's gained him a second and a half, basically in 4 laps, and he's pretty much within drafting range of Butler at this point. Skelton 2.5 seconds back, but he does have Richard Murdoch in the 01 to his back bumper, 3rd and 4th, and then Josh Buckley back there quite a ways right now in that number 2 machine. So things starting to spread out as we do expect one more pit stop here. And as we do take lap number 50, we are going to crank up the engine sounds and let you feel the thunder here from Kentucky. All right, we are back, and you didn't really miss too much, but what we did have happen was Max Terrio closed in even further to the back bumper of the number 88. Now he is within about 3 to 4 tenths of a second. Bring up the battle tracker, and you can see a 30.8 to a 30.9. So the last time by, actually to the benefit of the 88 rather, but the thing of note is that 42 had to push so hard to get to where he was from how far back that he was. But now he has wore out the tires, and now he has, well, the dreaded aero push to, hinder his efforts. So he's going to have a hard time closing in that remaining gap, but he actually got a pretty good run off of 2 that last time by.
Yeah, it almost kind of works like a pendulum. The more aero push you have coming into the corner, the more you're going to have to brake. But in the same time, the less aero push you have, the less you got to brake into the corner. So it's good if you're in maybe a pack situation where you're trying to make up as much time as Terrio is on Butler. But in the grand scheme of things, if you get too close, it almost becomes more of a hindrance than a help.
Yep, it's just you get to that bubble and you just can't pop the bubble. You can't push into the bubble. You're just, you're just kind of, even a magnet. You're just repelled. If anything, you get to that death window, and just we've seen it in the real world. We've seen it. I know it in Dover. You even heard getting to within a half a second of a lap car. Mind you, a lap car that was 3/4 seconds off, well, 3/4 of a second off the pace. You got to within that aero push bubble, and you just could not get by him no matter what you did. It's just kind of a side effect of having all the downforce is in the drag, as these cars push such a huge hole in the air that when that air in front of you is disturbed, you don't have that air to the nose, and you much need it. So that is the challenge these guys do face as we do close in on what will open the window for the second set of pit stops. And again, the question is going to be, do you want to pit early for the tires, or do you want to hopefully not run out of fuel and wait to the last second?
Yeah, judging by what we've seen in this race, I'd be going nuts running out of fuel. I mean, we had two major players in this race, one being James Heater, the pole sitter, who's going to flip the script on that and now finish, looks like last in the race, should he not return. But yeah, I think the tires are definitely going to be useful in this last section of the race. But if you're somebody running, let's say 3 or 4 seconds back, like Richard Murdoch and James Skelton, realistically need to have a great pit stop there. So you're probably trying to go in fuel strategy, maybe take less than you otherwise would, try to risk it there, and maybe run longer than the guys in front of you.
Yeah, that, or I mean, I can't imagine anyone doing a 2-tire stop. I don't think it would work, but if you stay out and you pit at the last possible lap, that shortens that last stint out, where you may be able to do that. I think the only guy that would know if that would work is Sean Butler. Remember, with all the practice that we talked about him doing earlier pre-race. But I'll tell you, Max Theriault, he's closer than he's been in quite a while. I think he's actually within 0.2 of a second now, rather than the 3 to 4 tenths he was at prior. So maybe he's just doing something a little bit differently. We'll go on board with him, and you can kind of see that he's going to get that big draft down the front straightaway. He's going to close into with about 10 feet of the back bumper. But then you see he's running just a little bit lower, about half a lane lower, and that's all that is for. That's to get air on the nose. That's to help that number 42 turn. And he was able to close just that little bit more. And see, he runs a little bit higher in 3, and then he crosses over. All of that is just to get some air on the nose and try to facilitate getting some downforce to make his corners.
I'm not sure if the two sides of the track are exactly the same, but it looks like he's definitely running a lot quicker on the entry and exit in 1 than he is on 2, and I've been noticing that for a few laps. So I wonder if maybe the banking is just a little bit different on entry, such that he's having to slide out more than Butler is into the corner.
Well, it's the nature of the shape of the track. Is the beauty of a tri-ovals. Your entry into corner number 1 is a lot wider. Well, it's just a lot less sharp because you're entering on a tri-oval. You're not exiting. You're not entering the corner, perpendicular to the shape of the corner. You kind of have that automatic arc in just because of the shape of the track. When you're on the back straightaway entering 3, you have a much sharper entry to the corner, which does kind of take a little bit different of an approach.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I think he definitely got that inside line, and he's getting a better and better run each lap. I'm not sure if Butler's starting to slide up with his tires, but if he can just make an aggressive move at all and get Butler to start acknowledging that he's there and starting to get that defensive line that could risk a spin, Theriault could be running on his own here up in the lead.
And I think at this point, if you're Theriault, even I think both of these drivers at this point kind of following suit to the sake of, we know there's one more pit stop. There's really no need to do anything crazy yet. We both have to make one more stop. And you can see some drivers at the tail end of the field already doing that. Ethan Troutman, Joe Strano, and Christopher Rothrick all coming to pit road on lap number 64. Which, again, this is the earlier end of the window, but not a surprise to see drivers pit this early. We'll see when the leaders do come down. And look at that, number 42 actually managed to take the lead while we were watching that.
Yeah, he got a great run up there on Butler, and he waited till the very last second. I don't think Butler thought he was going to drive down there, and he just dove really quickly into the corner, almost slide jobbed him, got him on the exit, and now he's taking sole possession of first place.
Just caught that on the replay, as you said. He just got the draft, just dove it on in there, and it's stuck. And now we saw him, again, the impressive thing with Theriault is he started 2 seconds back from Butler, and he only has 1 lap fresher tire, so it's nothing substantial. He literally just drove to the back bumper of the 88 and then drove right around him. So that was very impressive. And here comes Butler slowing down for his final pit stop.
Yeah, I think a bold move there by Butler, maybe trying to get his fuel to last a little bit shorter. I guess he did come in earlier, if I remember on the stint correctly, but yeah, that'll be interesting, is even that little bit of difference, that pit in and out lap, you don't have somebody else as a reference point. So Theriault won't know until he comes back on track where he is relative to Butler in the 88.
So when is that 42 going to pit? He does not want to wait any longer because that's just fresher tires and time that he's giving up. So he's going to pit immediately on this next lap. And the $1 million question is going to be, who is going to have the better in and out time in pit road, and that is going to affect where they come out on the track. Could affect the race, as we're down to just over 20 laps to go. James Skelton in the number 86 machine is leading the race. And one thing to note, I mean, I know last night, Marshall, we didn't have confirmation. I do know these guys are set to 3 attempts at a green-white checker, so that is a dynamic to watch out for. The 86 comes to pit road, and definitely a dynamic to watch out for in this league, Marshall. Particularly, didn't even think about it until just now, because with the fuel load, with green-white checkers, you need to make sure you have enough fuel to make it around until the pit's open for a green-white checker, if not be able to stay out for it.
Yeah, and should the drivers know that, I think that'll play a big part into the strategy. Is how many cautions do you think we're going to get? We've only seen 2, so if you don't think we're going to go to a green-white checkered, then just put less fuel in it. Try to get that little bit quicker of a pit stop, even if you were in 3rd or 4th, make up a few seconds. But yeah, in terms of tires as well, whoever pits last, even that small tire advantage, it's going to play a big part in the green-white checker should we see one.
Yep, and then just, I think it kind of forces your hand to pit a little bit later, just because, you know, the drivers pitting now, they're going to have an extra 8 to 10 laps of buffer just in case, but that's to say that you do want to pit in the first place. But let's go ahead and see where everyone sits on the racetrack right now. Sean Butler, he is in the middle, 3 and 4 right now. Max Terrio, 2 seconds back, and I can tell you on our telemetry back end, the entire pit stop experience for the number 42 was 0.6 of a second slower than the 88. So 0.6 of a second over the course of his pit road stop equated to 2 seconds actually on the racetrack.
It's likely one of 2 things. Either that practice we talked about pre-race and how much he may have had with pit exit and pit entry, but the other thing could be, as we just talked about, how much fuel did he take preparing for a potential green-white caution? Did he take only as much as he's going to guarantee to need for the end of this race? Or maybe Terrio was trying to add a little bit more, just should we go 6 more laps, say, he'd be able to run consistently and not have to risk a pit stop on a yellow.
Yeah, and so we'll see. I mean, we saw the 42. He was able to chase down that 88. I mean, within 10 laps, he went from a 1.5 seconds back to right on the back bumper. That is Kevin O'Brien in the PlayStation Camaro going a lap down. The old school PlayStation logo on that thing. I really like that scheme. Bringing me back to the old days, back in the 90s, playing PlayStation 1. And we're on PlayStation 4, coming to PlayStation 5, if that makes me feel old, oh my goodness. But down the back straightaway, the gap stabilizing at about 2 seconds. So I don't know if he's going to get there under green. We do have a battle for position. That's Eric Johnson in the 33, getting underneath Brandon Minto in the 20. That puts him into the 7th spot. DJ Anderson and Patrick Orr are 8th and 9th, directly behind these guys. That's a battle 7th back to the 10th spot.
Talked about that Johnson-Minto battle just now. Those guys are running 2nd and 3rd in the championship. So in terms of points, that could be a significant battle, at least in race 2.
Yes, it is, and I'm trying to see Sean Butler. Remember, he was last season's champion, won, I want to say it was 9 races the prior year. It was some ridiculous total like that. So he's the guy that everyone knows they need to watch out for in this series, and he did not have a good run at Talladega. I said Daytona, at Talladega last week. So kind of, as we said, getting back to the bread and the butter of what the series actually is, which is the 1.5 miles and, you know, the traditional intermediate style tracks. And once we head back to that, look where that 88 finds himself, up front with a now slightly shrinking lead. But I'll tell you, that 42 might be a little bit faster, but he does not have time on his side.
No, he does not. 16 laps to go, but he just made up about 2.5 tenths there on that lap. And if he can keep running laps like that much quicker than Butler, he'll make it up there in plenty of time.
And one thing that this package does do is there's a lap down vehicle right in front of him. I can't quite tell who it is, but you can use that as a draft, and as long as that person stays out of your way in the corners, that's the 84 machine of... Oh, who is that? I cannot see right now. The 84 machine. I don't actually see an 84 machine in my telemetry. Oh, it's Christopher Rothberg. Excuse me. Sorry, Christopher. you could use that lap down machine as a draft. As long as they stay out of your way and they don't cause you the arrow push in the corners, you could use that draft and, you know, pick up a couple tenths. And now he's going to be able to do the same exact thing with the driver ahead. That's Joe Strano. As long as Strano doesn't get in his way in the corner, that's free draft, that's free speed down the straightaways.
Yeah, that strategy definitely works if you're one of the leaders, but the only thing you risk then is if you confuse the lap car in front of you, maybe he's not sure where you're going to go. If you all of a sudden dive down to the inside to make a pass, and he's expecting you to just follow him on the outside, you might throw yourself off, and then you're at risk of a caution, which is worse than any speed you could make up in that new aero package.
Yeah, we just saw through the center of the corner, he actually kind of fell into the arrow push of him and didn't get quite the exit. So now he's 1.6 seconds, and I think he's gonna get down there within about 5 to 6 tenths. I personally don't think he's gonna get that much closer, as we'll kind of give you one more quick rundown of the results here. As they stand with about 13 laps to go, it is Butler, Terrio, Murdoch, Skelton, and Blum your top 5. Johnson, Anderson, Minto, Orr, and Troutman in the top 10. Remaining drivers on the lead lap is Souza, Buckley, Bordage, Dooley, and Aldani. We have Strano 1 lap down, Rothrick 1 lap down, Phillips 1 lap down, Strano. I just realized we have 2 Stranos in this race, Joe and Tony. Both are laps down. Bruce Potter and Kevin O'Brien, multiple laps down. Jesse Baker and James Heater both out of the race.
I thought Terrio had made up a little bit of time in that lap. I think he made up 1/10 there, which if he's making up any progress while Butler still has the arrow push on those lap cars, that's a good sign for Terrio.
Yeah, Butler was actually the slowest driver in the top 7 on that last lap. And again, I think that just may be as a result of where he is on the track right now and navigating around the number 3 machine. Had to get by him there on the outside. That's Tony Strano in the number 3. And that actually did allow Terrio to gain about 4 tenths of a second. Now that gap down to just about 1 second or a little bit more. Let's see, 2 tenths faster now. Is that number 3? Well, actually, yeah, is that number 3 going to offer any kind of issue for Terrio in his way around is going to be the question.
Yeah, Terrio's now got the same arrow push Butler did a minute ago, and Butler still has it, but now that he's kind of blocked in by a car in front and a car behind, he doesn't have as much real estate to use that newfound speed. As we're about to see here, he gets a good push off that exit to 4, but he's got nowhere to go because he's got 2 cars in front of him, whereas we see Terrio, he's not even going to use that 3 car of Tony Strano. He's just going to fly straight by because he wants Butler to end this race.
Yes, he does, and now we're under 10 laps to go, and he basically, do this basic mathematics. He's going to need a 10th a lap, and he has to get by, and that's not going to be the easiest sight, but what's good news for him is Butler has a side-by-side battle in front of him, the 908 and the 98. That is all Dooley and Aldani. That is a battle for position on the tail end of the lead lap, but hopefully they do know that the leaders are coming by and they don't cause too much of an issue, but this may be exactly what Terrio needs to gain time. Nope, they will both go to the inside and facilitate Butler getting by easily, I think.
Yeah, and Butler
not quite. The 908 runs him up the track.
Just avoids contact. Wow, that was some nice reflexes there from Butler.
And that's going to bring Terrio to within a half second, but Terrio is going to have to get by both of these drivers, and is he going to split the middle? He's going to try to. That 908 of Dooley is still going to be on the inside right in front of him. Now, this is going to put him, if he can get by, Terrio is going to be within a half of a second with 7 laps to go. That might be enough time.
The only problem is he wasn't able to go as far up the track as he would have wanted on entry there because Dooley was blocking the high side, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's still a very solid run for somebody who just took more of an inside lane than traditional, and he is still catching that 88.
Yes, he is, and again, we'll pull up the battle tracker one more time. 31.35 to a 31.32, so 3 100ths isn't going to be enough to get it done, but he's going to have to just dig deep, and again, he has to get by him, but he hasn't even gotten there yet, so he has 2 challenges, 2 very large challenges to accomplish in a dwindling amount of laps here at Kentucky as we head to what'll be 6 laps to go this time by. The gap stabilizing just at about that 4 tenths of a second margin. and he's going to have to start playing around with his lines, get some clean air on the nose of that 42, and then try to maximize whatever draft he can get on the straightaways.
And just before we end the race in this battle for the lead, if we look for the final podium spot, a battle between Murdoch and Skelton developing here. Skelton getting about 2/10 every single lap, and within 2/10 with 5 to go, he may have a chance to get that last podium spot.
Yeah, we will keep a loose eye on that, and try to keep a loose eye on what goes on up front, but I mean, kind of a little bit of a buzzkill drama situation. I do feel like that 42 of Terrio is starting to encumber to what is the aero push and the aging tires here. He's just struggling to, as I talked about earlier, breaking that bubble. That bubble is about that 2-3 car length range where the push, you know, he just doesn't have the downforce, can't quite, the draft isn't enough to suck him all the way up to the back bumper. So he's going to have to, you know, pop the bubble if he's going to be able to make something happen, but he was able to get a little bit closer through that last lap.
You got to wonder if Terrio's going to get super aggressive and try to throw a bit at the bumper here, maybe give him a bit of a tap if he can get enough of a run on the inside that he can slide him up, because likely the way that Butler's defending here very well, it'll be very difficult for Terrio to make a legitimate pass on him with this few laps left in the race.
Yes, it is. They're coming to 3 laps to go, and, well, I think it's safe to say he popped the bubble. He is right there within about 5 feet of the back bumper of Sean Butler. Just about 4.5 miles of racing here at Kentucky. You can see that 42 just running a couple feet lower, getting that air on the nose. That's going to get him within right to the back bumper. He has the draft. He is right there to the rear of the car. He's going to go to the outside of the track of Butler, try to get that little bit of a crossover, which facilitates the run off of corner exit, coming to 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they quite made contact there, but he gave a little bit of a tap or maybe a tiny shove to Butler, because Butler got the best. Oh, he taps the wall there on entry, but he got the best run out of 4 he's had in the last 15 laps.
So we have to ask, what is he going to do? Is it going to stay clean? Is he going to use the bumper at all? How is he going to get by? Is he going to get by at all? He is right to the back bumper. He's bump drafting him, sailing him in there into corner number 3. Here we come to the white flag lap. Still has a car length to go.
Great move by Butler. He got off the gas there and just let him push him in, but with no throttle, you're going just as quick as you'd be otherwise. Now Terrio going to try the inside, possibly. Gives him another shove. Terrio's under.
He's to the inside in corner number 1 and 2. Butler's going to pinch him down there. Are they going to door each other off of corner number 2? They're side by side down the back straightaway at Kentucky. Is it going to be a photo finish? They go door to door into the corner. Terrio is losing a little bit of time, but he's going to try to sail it off in there into corner number 3. He loses the advantage he had. He has to fall back in line. Butler has the momentum off the outside. He clears him, and he's going to take that checkered flag here at Kentucky.
And what a final lap from Butler there. That is how you defend on the outside. Great win for him.
And another good thing is that he raced him clean. He had an opportunity, Terrio did, to door him up the track. He chose not to race him like that. I mean, early in the season, you don't want to, develop those rivalries and that kind of, mentality with the competition. That's how you race. So a great clean run, unfortunately, just ended just a little bit short, but congratulations do go to the number 88 of Sean Butler and recovering from what was not the best of performances last week. And let's give you, while everyone has finished the race, the final rundown of results here from Kentucky. Leading it down with the victory here tonight, leading, let's see what it is, 62 laps goes to Sean Butler. Max Terrio will settle for the second. Richard Murdoch led 1 lap. He finished in 3rd. James Skelton with the 4th. Tim Blum in 5th. Then we have Eric Johnson, DJ Anderson, Brandon Minto, Patrick Orr, and Josh Buckley, your top 10.
Kyle Souza finishing in 11th. Leo Bordage in 12th. Our top rookie of the series of the race, Ethan Troutman in 13th. Ryan Oldani in 14th. Jeff Dooley in 15th. Joe Strano in 16th, played a key part in that last battle there. Christopher Rothrock in 17th, Brian Phillips in 18th, the other Strano, Tony Strano in 19th, Bruce Potter in 20th, Kevin O'Brien in 21st, Jesse Baker in 22nd, and arguably the biggest heartbreak of the race, James Heater, who was unable to finish after running out of fuel, 23rd.
Yep, that is your lineup. Well, that is your results, rather, here tonight from the Kentucky Speedway. So we will go and start the post-race show, talk to these guys, and see how they feel about their finishes here in tonight's race. And I think we have caught up with, I'll talk to the third place finisher here tonight. We have the 0-1 of Richard Murdoch. All right, Richard, PTR TV, you got a copy, brother?
Yeah, I got you. What's going on?
All right, so a very clean race here at Kentucky. We only saw 2 cautions, both of which early in the race, and you guys had 2 sets of green flag stops and a long run to the checkers. So just talk about what it was like from the 0-1's perspective tonight.
Well, I was fast on the short run. We did our practice race yesterday, and I really struggled in the long run with the tire wear. So I just tried to be a little bit more conservative at the beginning, and it really paid off for me at the end there with racing against James.
Yeah, we saw kind of what happened, the racing style here tonight. You saw that kind of pack racing for a couple laps, and then it seemed once it really spread out, and was the aero push really a big factor? We saw guys really struggle to kind of gain within about 0.2 of a second. You really couldn't get much closer to that without a lot of work.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the closer you got to somebody, the less downforce you had, and it really affected you trying to get down into the corner. So I would try and take a different line than the guy in front of me to keep that downforce so I could hold my speed in the corner, but it definitely made it really difficult.
Yeah, but either way, you take a second place finish, or rather third place, trying to give you a little bit too much credit there. A third place finish here tonight, and looking at the rundown, looks like you guys take the Xfinity machines to Michigan in next week's race. So how do you feel about that car track combination?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really enjoy the Xfinity cars, and Michigan's a fun track. You get a lot of speed there. So, yeah, I'm excited and looking forward to it.
All right, brother. Anyone you want to give a thanks or shout out to for tonight's efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. My Uncle Gary's always watched me. I appreciate it. My buddy Walter Cooper, he's been logging in and watching me here lately. And Katie and Jeremy out in Colorado. And I just want to say, look for James Skelton next week. He's going to be in a special car because him and I had a little side bet going on. So look out for that.
All right, will do, man. Congrats again, and we'll be talking to you.
Appreciate it. Take care.
And now I believe Marshall has caught up with the number 42 machine of Max Terrio. Oops, I caught you a little bit off there, brother.
Hey, Max, PTR TV, you got me?
Yep, then for.
Well, first of all, I mean, a great race there. I thought for sure you would be going maybe to victory lane for your second win of the season, but just got to ask if there's anything you do a little bit differently on those last 5, maybe 10 laps to get by Butler at the finish there. Anything you'd change?
Not much, because I was further behind him after the last pit stop than I was the previous one, so catching up to him was actually better than I expected. I thought I would be like half a second short. That's where I lost my time on during my pit stop, but I mean, a few more laps I needed maybe, but still, it was a good finish.
Yeah, you definitely showed great speed running on your own that entire race. You just had your individual line better than arguably anybody out there, and definitely some talent last week in the trucks. Definitely a great race today in Cup. Next week we'll obviously go to an Xfinity race. How are you feeling for that new discipline?
I'll be glad to be back in cars with more power. Let's just say that I get rid of the spacers in Xfinity also, but still, it'll be much enjoyed.
Yeah, definitely be a different atmosphere than today's race in terms of the power and the aerodynamics. But anybody you want to thank for your second place performance?
Yeah, to say hi to my girlfriend and my friend Max at Makeeng. And I hope everyone who watched the race on PTR enjoyed it. It's a clean league. We get lots of green flag runs, and it's fun for you guys to broadcast, and we can watch it afterwards. So keep up the good work, guys.
Thanks, Max. And yeah, you definitely made the race interesting for the viewers tonight. Thank you.
All right, so that is second, and I have caught up with your winner here tonight, Sean Butler. All right, Sean, I mean, you won the championship last year in dominating style with all those victories, and, well, the restrictor plate start to the season didn't go as planned, but you led a bunch of laps here tonight and take it home. So how you feeling, man?
Man, after last week, restrictor plates are one of my things. It seems like I get wrecked out whether I'm running front, back, doesn't matter. It just never seems to be my luck there. So it feels good to come back, run strong here. And I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. I wasn't able to qualify like I was hoping to, but seemed to have pretty good long run speed. Max was a little bit better than me, but it's so hard to pass on old tires. You really have to make a mistake. But, you know, he did everything he could there at the end, and I just want to thank him for racing me clean there and letting me have my line. And you know, I was pinching him, and just great battle. Love racing him. It seems like we get together every week and race for the win, or at least top threes.
Yeah, I mean, we saw he closed in on you by 2 seconds, and I know the Cup car, it's not quite flat out here at Kentucky, especially on the older tires, but was there something that you noticed he was doing that you couldn't do? Because he closed in on you by 2 seconds, but obviously, as you said, with the aero push and the tire wear at the end, he wasn't able to seal the deal.
Yeah, it was honestly, having an extra lap or two fresher tires is a huge difference. Just that one extra lap, I don't know why, it just seems like it's just a little bit faster the whole run. I mean, I was running qualifying laps as long as I could early, trying to keep Max so he'd have to push his car just as hard, and it just didn't seem to work. And then, you know, lap down cars, you know, almost got into a wreck with a lap down car. I thought he said, you know, told me to go ahead, and I turned into 3, and he was still there, almost wrecked. So that lost me a few tenths, but I don't know, just one of those things. I don't know. Max might have been saving tires a little bit better than me on the right front. I mean, that's what it comes down to, how much you steer these cars and stuff, and how good you are to them on the first couple laps.
Yeah, but all that matters, man, is you put it in victory lane tonight. You guys head to Michigan in the Xfinity cars next week, so how do you feel about that combination?
I'm curious to see if they've done anything with these Xfinity cars, see what the package is a little bit better. The nice thing is you're not flat-footing it or anything. It's usually they get a little loose for some reason, especially off of 4, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. Well, you know, the half-tank fuel kind of throws these setups for a little bit of a loop too. So, I mean, I feel confident that I can run up front. It just depends on how everything folds out and where you qualify and if you get involved in anything.
All right, man. So again, congrats on the win. Any final shout-outs or thanks you want to give for tonight's victory?
Just my teammates at Need for Speed. We work hard to run up front and as a team, and we're getting there. We had some guys that, you know, had well, I guess we had one guy that had a little bit of an incident early, and you know, he was hoping for a better night, but he'll turn it around, and I know we'll just make the best of it and see if we can get us all into the chase here in about 10 weeks.
All right, brother. See how that happened, but congrats again, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you throughout the season.
All right, thanks, Corey. Shout out to you guys for the broadcast and everyone and watching and everything too. Thanks for watching.
All right, so that is your race winner, Sean Butler, and the top 3 finishers here tonight. So time to wrap up coverage here tonight on PTR TV. First off, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and if you don't like the YouTube channel, please give it a subscription and a thumbs up. For some reason, there's some person or people up there that want to thumbs down our videos, but you know what? If you do like the content, let us know. If you don't like the content, you know, let me know. And we like bringing these leagues to you and trying to up the ante here with the quality of the broadcast. So hope you are enjoying it. Want to thank Air Movement and Fabrications, a ventilation service to trust, airmovefabs.co.uk. You can check them out on Facebook. Brandon Kreutz and his company, FameMotorsports.com. You can check him out. #FameNation is the new adage he is putting out there. And look fast, feel famous is his new adage. You can get any kind of apparel, t-shirts, graphic design for your iRacing cars, for your real-world cars, a whole bunch of stuff that Brandon is doing. So again, check him out. And of course, we couldn't do anything without the simulator, iRacing.com, the original esports racing game, iRacing.com. So it's the Red Light Scrambler series that we offered tonight, round number 2 at the Kentucky Speedway. Victory went to Sean Butler in the 88. Any final words, Marshall?
No, just it was a great race tonight. I mean, one of the most fun battles I've ever watched as a commentator, and it was a great race, and hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, that definitely is the case. I know we did in the booth. Corey Silva and Marshall Crocker signing out here tonight. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey, everybody.